Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we're taking a look at a game that was recently played on Rosetta. Rosetta is probably one of those maps that you see every once in a while. It comes up here and there, and especially the pros love to play it because it does have a funky little metal extractor spot right here in the center of the map. But it's definitely not one that I'd say is a common map by hardly any measure, so I'm excited to see what we have in store for us today. Spawning is the blue Cortex Commander, spawning on the southern side of the blue team. It's gonna be none other than Mr. Everest. Clocking in at 35 open skill, very high ranking there. Definitely above the average Chiff Chaff. I would say probably average around 20-ish. I would say that's probably the most average. Somewhere around 30, 40, getting up there, definitely in the higher skills. So I did check the leaderboards recently. It was something like 59 or something, 49, 59, something like that. Ridiculous. Anyway, Lotbury Monkey, the red commander here, hailing us with a Cortex commander with 37 open skill and a silver tail of chevron here as well. I'm not sure what to call this one. Bronze and silver tail, bronze with silver tails chevrons. It's a tricky one, but it's not quite the silver chevrons. It's just before that. But it does definitely indicate quite a bit of experience right here. And at 37 open skill, you've definitely got to have quite a couple of games under your boots in order to maintain that level of skill. So I'm definitely curious what we're gonna go for. It's weird to see the red commander spawn here. This is a really tricky position. This spot right here essentially only gets these 3 metal extractors. You get 3, 6, 9 metal extractors, or 9 metal worth of metal extractors. And there's no guarantees that you're gonna be able to contain these 2 out here as well. So that's another 4. And then after that, you're already at the halfway mark, and these are way closer to the halfway line for you, so it's way easier for them to be denied by the enemy. It means that this position usually has a really, really rough time. They depend heavily on I have no idea, or rather the position that I have no idea is playing in order to support them on the front lines and make sure that everything goes well. Grunts coming out right here from Lotberry Monkey. We've also got a Resbot going out to eat up some of these rocks. 230 metal is not bad on those rocks, yeah. 230, very, very juicy. Also some metal over here, 190, and the rocks over on the right-hand side. Definitely going to be very important that we lock those down, so I'm glad to see that we do have a Resbot headed over in that direction. We have a couple of Grunts also moving forward right now from Al-Hazared, trying to put as many units into the enemy field as possible here. DB guarding this metal extractor because it is so critical, though. 10 metal per second this mech pulls out of the ground. It is extremely important. It's essentially your entire economy when you're playing as a, or when you're playing the early game here. And Sizer's trying to get an engagement against the Grunts. Not the end of the world. Not finding too much room right there. But at the very least, defending and deflecting a lot of that firepower. We do have the rocks right here as well. 230 metal worth of rocks on the low ground right there that DB can be more than happy to clean up. We need to start spending the metal though. Yeah, we're gonna start pumping out anything that we can. We got a riot tank built out now, and it's gonna be fabulous for stopping any run-bys that happen to come within range of it. Of course, the thing about the riot tank is that it's so tremendously slow. It's a really, really hard time catching up with units, but it can defend an area quite nicely. Choke points like this, where it can block off the line of fire, can be very valuable. Grunts resurrected and sent back to the fronts. It's one thing that happens a lot in the 1v1s, particularly in the Cortex v Cortex matchup, because those Grunts tend not to overkill. Pawns too, but to a slightly lesser degree. A lot of times the wreckages end up getting left on the battlefield, and so it means an early Resbot or 2 can really change the tide of these battles, because your army really can't scale up to size super, super quickly. Once you have enough of those units that can efficiently blast down these units, it really doesn't really matter that much. But certainly in the early game, 1 or 2 extra units here and there, it adds up quick. It's a kind of efficiency that allows you to win these fights right here. Going up against Isbad234, one of the moderators over at the Discord, someone who's been around the Brightworks for a good long while here, trying to defend this lane. Got to be a little bit worried going up against the top dog here on the left-hand side for the red team. Riot tank getting aggressive here. Not going to have much success pushing into the LLT, though. Definitely not a siege unit. It has a very specific role, and it's just to blast away infantry units. Has a massive AoE on its attack. In fact, I think for the T1 era, it probably has the most AoE on its attack. It's a big pawn and tick investment right here from Pistachios. An interesting composition because the ticks are so much faster, but oftentimes they end up running to the front, not necessarily where you want them. but it can end up working for you in the end if eventually those ticks surround whatever you're attacking and then trigger a massive flanking bonus. It's one of those little moves that's easy to mess up, but very rewarding if you can get it right. Wolverine rolling down the hills right here, going to be going up against Pop C. Little spy camera set up here as well. Not bad, because of course a lot of these units require a little more vision in order to fire at their full range. White Seraph holding on the southern side. We got LLTs coming up right here from a constructor. We've got grunts, we've got pawns. Everyone is looking forward to getting engaged in the T1 battle right here. We should have a tech player in the back. Yeah, Mr. Everest looking to get invested in tech. We have a T2 lab coming up on the side of this hill here. A bit of a strange position there, but T2 nonetheless going to be coming up right now. We should also see T2 coming out for, pardon me, I have no idea. Actually already up and running. Okay, quite nice. I have no idea already what the T2 lab. Gonna send that T2 constructor to his teammate in red immediately. A very, very good game. Making sure to send those T2 constructors to the people who need them the most, the quickest. Makes a lot of sense. Because this is so efficient on the front lines, because basically no units have been lost. Plus and then, or minus and then plus the ones that have died and then were resurrected. The Red Commander is feeling very comfortable to just keep these Rocketeers sieging. Keep pushing into this base right here. It's bad continuing production, but the units aren't moving up to the front lines here, so we've got a little bit of a stall. There we go. Aggravators headed up to the front, trying to make their way forward. Finding it difficult, though. Medium tanks. Siege tanks. No, not siege tanks, pardon me. Pounders. Anti-swarm tanks. That's the wrong game. Siege tanks is StarCraft. Yeah, I play them all. My heart belongs to Bar, though, for sure. Once you have auto groups, you can't really go back to playing StarCraft. Not in the same mindset, anyway. The whole time I play StarCraft nowadays, I just think, man, I wish I could automatically rally all my Marines into an auto group. Wouldn't that be convenient? Man, I wish I could split my Marines just by right-clicking and dragging. Bar spoils us. They really do. They also recently added the, what is it called? The blueprint system. Apparently I can't access it in replay, or this game might have been played just before it was added. It was quite literally added today. Earlier this morning. Like in the AM. At least for my time, PDT. Yeah, it allows you to make blueprints and put them down, which is some pretty cool stuff. You can put down blueprints of static defenses, you can put down blueprints of economy, blueprints of all sorts of stuff. Ooh, Centurion change right here from Pistachios. I'd love to see it. Got a little distracted by thinking about those blueprints, but the Pistachio Centurions are waddling their way around. One of the weirdest interactions between Centurions and Rocketeers is between those two units, rather. Centurion's able to push into Rocketeers because they have enough HP. I wonder what their movement speed is. Their speed is 45. The Aggravator speed is also 45. Yeah, so they're exactly mirrored speed. It's quite strange. Despite the Centurions being so heavy and so slow, they do a great job of, yeah, very, very nicely pushing into Rocketeers and taking them down. Library Monkey here, steps forward. Oh, little D-gun right there from Isbad. When in Rome, the Red Commander decides to trade out against the Green Commander. Overcommitted against that heavy laser tower, and it left that commander with no other choice, meaning 2,000 or so metal is now left on the field right here for Isbad. A couple of Resbots marching forward, trying to claim it, but no way that's happening. There's already Aggravators up and running, and Hounds are streaming out to the battlefield as well. Purple Commander SK-10 went into a T2 transition over here. Now going to start pumping those units out. Those T2 units are on the field. We have Sheldon in a small ball here. Not quite in that critical mass, though, that we need in order to keep this fight sustained. Maroon Commander continuing to push forward. We got the Maces walking forward right now as well. Just sturdy enough to push into LLTs, not necessarily outranging them. Construction bots eating up the corpses of the commanders over here. Very nicely done. These Hounds have made very short work of a lot of this T1. Just like that, all that T1, all that thousands of metal of T1 is gone in an instant. Resbots and construction bots eating up all the rest of it, and it means that Isbad can now afford a proper T2 economy. We got the T2 mechs coming up and online. T2 mechs almost up and online right here for Pep C on the high ground. He needs it desperately. No such T2 for Dibby. That's a critical oversight right here from the red team. Not tapping this T2 max. That's a 40 metal per second metal extractor once you get that up and running. Dibby actually having some serious production issues right now. Yeah, 700 metal and no way to spend it. Build power has died. Died or was never built, one or the other. Aggravator's knocking on his door. Heavy laser tower, blasting away over here. Doesn't have vision. What you usually want to do is put a radar tower right behind the heavy laser tower. Gives it enough vision to actually fire at the units up here. Gauntlet has been set up over here for pistachios. Ooh, commander goes down over here as well. That's the hot pink commander. That's Dibby. Loses his commander on the front lines there to Pop C. Pop C stays up and running. It means, of course, we can use that commander for reclaim. Always a very potent option. If you can keep your commander alive, it does lend you quite a lot of utility into the mid and late game. Just have to be more and more careful with it. Those T2 units will shred it to pieces. Gauntlet now safely blasting down a lot of the static defenses over here. Or trying to at the very least. Resbot's out now and repairing as many of these hounds as possible. We've got the constructors here as well. Hounds en masse are perfectly capable against faster moving units like the grunts, like pawns, like ticks. You just have to keep them in their siege or their assault mode, not their siege mode. Their Gauss cannon rather than their Gauss cannon rather than their, oh gosh, what is the other one called? Plasma cannon, that's right. They have a multi-purpose weapon, and one of them certainly is a lot better against the moving targets. Medium tanks still being pushed out of this lab right here, but we're just so slow on the draw. Yeah, not enough production is all it took, and Pop C eventually just overwhelmed. This is just a T1 army sitting here. But sometimes that's all it takes. A good T1 push can cripple your opponent, leaving them with no alternatives. T2 mechs just came online as well. Oh no, 40 metal per second now streaming into the hot pink economy and no way to rightly spend it. No build power in the back over here. Well, we have a single construction turret, but no big build power. Team not responding right now. Fiends finally heading up north. Big thanks losing the entire army. I heard a spy bot detonate somewhere. Ah, there it is. Nicely done. That's a huge catch right there. Whittling down that Sheldon force as well. Very efficient. Blasting down those EMP'd Sheldon. Makes it a lot nicer to sit around here. Spybot moved up to the front line here. We're looking for that juicy connection. Fighting fire with fire. One of the things that's interesting about a game that is symmetrically balanced. Essentially anything your opponent does, you can also do back to them. Including Spybot, the beautiful Spybot connection right there. Paralyzes all of the hounds on the front line. But now it is time for the mighty Recluse. Making its way downtown on 6 different legs and 3 different rockets, firing away at anything that it can. Blasting apart all those Sheldon with their volley of siege missiles. We need Webers. I think we need Webers in this composition. You mix a couple of Webers into the conversation here, and then suddenly you've got Reclaim and you've got Siege. It's everything you can want and more. We do have a Rattlesnake popped up here as well. Going to start firing away at a bunch of this base. Nicely done. Popping the forward static defense, making very clear how efficient the T2 is as compared to the T1. Firing more frequently, firing more heavily, more dangerous in virtually every capacity. Not a quick death, mind you. Not a quick death, but a surefire one. Fiends eventually cleaning up this mess up here on the top ground, or the high ground right here. The metal extractor stayed up and running actually, so we do still have quite a lot of metal income for the hot pink commander Dibby. We just need to see it put to work. Sheldon Ball has reached critical mass over here. Spice Merchant goes up in flames right there as the Sheldon Ball blasts them to smithereens. Fiends looking for an opportunity to push forward. Arbiter's in a little bit of trouble here. Hammer V1. The hammer, he's real. Anybody get that reference? Oh, that's an old reference right there. I know 2 people at least that will get that reference. Anyway, sorry Hammer. If that's not what that name is a reference to, then maybe it's what was it, MC Hammer or whatever? Just barely ahead of my time. Anywho, Hammer in trouble from those Sheldon down on the southern side. Rattlesnake still firing away over here, but mostly has already cleaned up this area. A couple of lightning turrets, not the end of the world. Just a little bit inconvenient. Webbers have been pulled off the front. I can't help but wonder if maybe just handing these units over to Isbat wouldn't be the wrong idea here, just so that they're properly microed all the time. If Isbat's going to be focusing on this front line 100% of the time, you may as well just give the units over in that direction. Guaranteed that they're going to be spent appropriately. Ah, there we are. That's what we're waiting on. Al-Zared has set up the forward T3 gantry right here. 14-minute T3 gantry, my goodness. That's the power of this 40 metal extractor. Well, metal extractor. 40 metal extractor, that's the sentence. Spybot providing perfect vision over here. Lovely stuff from SK10. Pushing forward with those hounds, with those recluses, with those Sheldon. Everybody stepping forward in tandem here, making sure to not overstep. Mammoth, yeah, I think we're in the right decision here. Just run away. Stachio's commander. Yeah, there's a radar signature somewhere around here. Razorback's trying to hit it. Couldn't quite. Tried very hard, but couldn't quite manage to do it. Shuriken jumping on the Razorback. Oh no, Razorback not fighting the Shuriken. Oh, and it gets paralyzed. Oh no. 38,000 or 3,800 metal directly down the drain right there as the Razorback gets burned to a crisp by his Fiends. Oof, that hurts. That hurts my soul to see. Meanwhile, Fiends pushing forward on the southern side. We need Sumos out to counter the Fiends. Sumos are welders, if you're an Armada player. Boom goes the geothermal though, and those Fiends do secure at least 2 more kills for the Blue Empire. Heavy tanks now rolling forward as well. It's a big ball of Tigers. Nearly 5,000, about 4,500 metal worth of Tiger tanks. It equates to 7 in total. Now rolling towards the forward production facility here. A big thanks. This cloak, nicely done. D-gun, huge D-guns right there. Massive connection. Manages to blow apart multiples of those heavy Tiger tanks, pulling the commander back, and the rest can be easily cleaned up by regular T2 forces. Gone from 4,600 metal down to just 1,300 is devastating. Losing that metal, it's easy to write off as, you know, you were doing some damage on the other side of the map, but all said and done, that was effectively nothing for a crazy, crazy trade. At the very least, the D-gun doesn't leave any wreckage for them to reclaim. Suffice it to say, though, losing that much metal in tanks is not a happy moment. Quaker's coming up now. There's the T2 Cortex siege engines. There's the Sumos. Popsy sending some of those heavy warbots moving forward. The armored assault bot, the Sumo. Commander goes up in smoke right there. That's the yellow commander. Hammer V1 loses his life to a couple of Fiends pushing forward right here from the blue commander. Don't even think we were targeting the commander. Just ended up finding it and killing it. And now the metal extractor is in a lot of trouble. Pop goes the mechs right there for the hot pink commander fusion reactor, just moments away from completion. But I have a feeling that it will never see the light of day, or at least it won't live to see the light of day for long. Green force is now streaming through the map right here. The Cyan Marauders have found their way into the back lines of DB, and just like that, pop goes the fusion. Very nicely done. Marauders so powerful for their immense speed, their relatively high firepower. They're a brutal unit to put in the enemy's backline. Amphibious, fast, medium to heavy armor, depends on how you classify them. They don't really have much HP, but they have the speed to dodge, which is a different kind of armor. Just as effective though. Beautiful splits right here on the Marauders, moving across the map and finding whatever targets that they can. Advanced geothermal will be the next target. Gunship's in a lot of trouble here. Boom goes the AGO, takes out all the Marauder, but also every last one of those gunship that was working on it over here. Red Base in a ton of trouble as well. One Marauder, one more hero Marauder has made it into the facility. At this point, the red base, the maroon base is not looking good either. Ah, and indeed, the red team decides to throw in the towel. Beautiful push right there on the middle of the map, just using some of those good old-fashioned Marauder assault bots and also pushing forward with a very capable Cortex army right here from Pop C. Back and forth right there between those two middle players, but eventually it'll be the blue team that takes victory. Thanks a ton for watching. I know this was a bit of a shorter one, but I sure hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.